Hi, welcome to the instructional video for our ASBC emergency evacuation procedures, particularly designed for leaders and those within the context of ministry who may need to step up in the case of an emergency. We're going to go through just some really basics of the church evacuation system. It's not complex, but it's actually important that we all understand. So the first thing I want to talk about is priorities. Now, in the case of an emergency, there are basically 4 priorities that we wish to maintain. The first one is protection of life. We want to ensure people can be evacuated safely and are clear from the hazard that is affecting our environment. Number 2 is to prevent the spread of the hazard. If at all possible, we want to contain the hazard to the church premises and just ensure it doesn't spread any further than it needs to. The third priority is to save assets. Now, only, of course, if we're not compromising our personal safety in doing so. There may be things of high value that we wish to save. So that's number 3. And fourthly, we want to eliminate the hazard. Now, of course, we've got the fire department who will primarily do that. But if it is safe to do so and we feel like we can respond, utilizing the fire extinguishers and other types of things like that, we can seek to eliminate or contain the hazard ourselves. So they're the 4 priorities that we need to keep in mind. Now, here at church, we have an alarm system, and I can guarantee you, if you haven't heard it yet, you will definitely hear it when it goes off because it is loud. Now, when our fire alarm goes off, basically it will create this piercing noise that definitely indicates to everyone that it is an emergency. And as we inform everyone, the important thing to do is, if that does go off, is to stay calm, to listen for verbal instructions, identify a safe exit, promptly proceed toward the emergency evacuation area, which is the north end of the car park. And we expect everyone to do that and to follow those instructions in order to maintain those priorities that I mentioned earlier. Now, in the case of an emergency, there are a series of roles, and the expectation would be that if the alarm goes off, no matter what responsibility you have at any given service or activity, that you will step up into one of these necessary roles in order to ensure a safe evacuation. Now, it's particularly the responsibility of the full leadership team, or if you're a member of the FLT, to take on any kind of warden responsibilities. Now, it may be that at this particular event, there is too many people and we have enough wardens. That's okay. Still, the expectation is that you will meet at the emergency equipment cupboard and take on any roles that may be required. And that's why we're making this video, to ensure that people are aware that that is our role. But secondly, whether they may be willing to step up in case FLT members are not available. So first of all, we have the white hat, and this is worn by the incident control person. Okay, so the incident controller is the one who directly communicates with the congregation or the people present that it is an emergency and that they need to evacuate. They are the main mouthpiece in the case of an emergency. Now, once they have done that role, then essentially their role is to observe and to ensure the evacuation is going smoothly. They will be the one that calls the emergency services or ensures that they're notified, and they will be the one who will liaise with those emergency services when they will arrive. Now, Rod or myself will be responsible for wearing the white hat in the case of an emergency. The second helmet is the blue helmet, and this is the helmet of the chief warden. Now, the people who are expected to step up and be chief warden are members of the operational leadership team, that's the OLT. Even if we are wearing the white hat as well, we will also don the blue hat in order to ensure that this role is filled. So the chief warden's role is basically to coordinate with the other area wardens that I'll talk about in a moment and ensure that the facility, once evacuated, is swept so that we don't leave any people behind. Now we have 3 area warden helmets. The first zone is the green zone. Now, this helmet will be primarily worn by Jennifer in the kids ministry environment. So you can look on the map right now and you can see where the green zone is highlighted. Now, for the person wearing the green helmet, it's not just a responsibility to sweep that zone. It's also their responsibility to be the designated first aider. Now, this is actually a very simple role. It also just means that they need to ensure that they have a mobile first aid kit, and that's taken to the emergency evacuation point. That way, if there's any kind of treatment that is required once the evacuation has occurred and that area has been swept, then it can be done. The other 2 area wardens are the yellow area and the red area. Now their responsibility is once again to meet at the emergency equipment cupboard, take on these hats, and then as the evacuation is occurring, to go into their particular zones and ensure that people have evacuated. As you sweep the area, you may find that a door is locked. If it has a little window, certainly peek in to make sure that there's no one present within there. Take note of it, but continue to move on. You do not need to break down doors in order to do a sweep. Now the question might be, who takes on the role of the yellow and the red zones? Well, this can be any FLT member. Again, the expectation is that if you are present in the case of an emergency, you will just step up. It's actually as simple as that. We have youth leaders step up when it's a youth event. We have office admin staff step up when it's an office situation. And the same is true for services and other ministries. The expectation is that as an FLT member, as a member of the leadership team, we will just step up, take these warden roles on and do the job. It may be that there is an event happening where members of the full leadership team are completely present. Our hope would be that in the case of an emergency, you, if you're an able-bodied person, would be willing to step up and meet us during the evacuation at the emergency equipment cupboard and take on responsibility for one of these area warden hats. If you could do that, it would be much appreciated.